the critical period. The apparent specialization of the left hemisphere for language is usually described in terms of lateral dominance of or lateralization or one-sidedness. The child, when born, does not start speaking because he does not bring anything or she does not bring anything from the womb of the mother. Since the human child does not emerge from the womb as a fully articulate language user, so he or she is not able to use language as adult use. The lateralization process begins in early childhood. So the localization of this left part for language takes place in the early childhood. It coincides with the period during which language acquisition takes place. So this lateralization coincides with the period when language learning takes place, when a child starts learning the language. During childhood, there is a period when the human brain is most ready to receive input and learn a particular language. So when a baby starts growing, so there comes a period in his or her life when he or she is very much ready for learning a language, obviously the first or mother language. This is sometimes called the sensitive period for language acquisition, but is more generally known as the critical period. So generally it is known as sensitive period when the child is ready to learn a language, and it also is known as the critical period when the child is ready to learn his first or her first language. Though something it may start earlier, at a very early age. The general view is that the critical period for the first language acquisition lasts from birth until puberty. So it spans over a long period, starting from the birth of the child till the start of the puberty of the child, maybe 12 or 13 years of age. However, there are different opinions that in which period of time the child completes his or her language learning. If a child does not acquire language during this period for one or for any one of a number of reasons, then he or she will find it almost impossible to learn language later on. So the investigation and experiments have shown that if a child is not exposed to any language, the child is unable to speak or learn language, or finds great difficulty in later years to learn a language. There have been many cases that we discuss in the earlier part of the course, in which we knew that a child that was kept away from the society or listening a language was unable to speak a language. Well-documented case when the critical period passes without adequate linguistic input. So there are, as I said, many documented cases in which the language learning period passed and the language was not learned, and then there was a great problem for that unfortunate child or person to learn language. So we can say that for language learning there is a critical period in one's life, in child's life, that generally, as believed by most of the researchers, starts from the birth till the starts of the puberty, and during which the child learns a language. And if a child is kept away from a language or has no exposure to a language, it is very difficult to learn a language.